Hey y'all, it's Laura, and I have a very manly layout for you today. This layout is of two pictures that I have been very hesitant to scrapbook. And the reason being that they're of my dad, and my dad passed away 2 years ago, and I'm still, you're still recovering from that. It takes a long time to recover from the loss of a parent. And so scrapping pictures of him are sometimes a bit emotional for me. So I've hesitated with these. Plus, this happened to be a really exciting day for him. And I know it was an extremely happy moment. And so that too, coupled with his loss, it makes it harder. But I decided to go ahead and do it because I wanted to challenge myself to use my Secret Non-Secret Kit Club, which is made pretty much entirely of Paige Evans' Pick Me Up, a very feminine collection. And I wanted to challenge myself to use this collection on a very masculine layout. And something about race cars just screams masculinity to me. And I think that's why I chose this particular layout to do. Now, as usual, I wandered into this layout with no particular plan in mind and not really any idea of how the setup of this layout's going to be. I just decided, as I usually do, to just start layering my mats and then hope inspiration hits, and it usually does, as I'm playing around with the papers. Quite often, just playing around with papers, touching the papers, I get a feel for the kit a little bit, and it gives me some kind of idea. And I start putting things down on the paper, and that usually inspires another idea, and I think, oh, hey, that would be great, or oh, hey, let's try this. And quite often that is a great launch pad for new ideas. So as you can see, I'm using a lot of B sides on these papers. Most of the A sides are very hearts and flowers and moth butterfly things. The B sides are very primary colored, and some of them are just simple patterns. So I'm pretty sure all of the papers that I used came from the Pick Me Up collection. And I particularly love this navy. Something about navy just makes me so happy. It is such a gorgeous color, and it's just not quite as deep a contrast as black. So I feel like a little more comfortable with it. Now there is black in these photos, and I will bring in a little bit of black, but it's not going to be the main design element. So now I've got the spanner across the center of my page, gives a little boundary, a little foundation for my photos. And I know this larger photo is actually kind of an odd size because I printed two large photos onto an 8x10 and then cut them in half. So I kind of collaged them together. So this is roughly 5x8, a little bigger than 5x7. And it takes up a lot of the page. I mean, it's a very dominant focal image. And the smaller photo is just kind of a close-up of him actually getting into the car. So I really love these photos. The smaller one's not as great of a quality picture, but it's a better picture of him. So I did want to use both. I decided to grab some of this paper, and I was going to use the heart side just like I did in the mat on the big photo. But then when I was cutting it, I accidentally flipped one of the pieces over and realized it had this gorgeous red on the back, and I had used some of that to mat the top of the photo. And I thought, oh, that's brilliant. Let's do that. Racing stripes, right? Yes, red racing stripes. All about that. So that's what I decided to do on the bottom. Now I did use my T-square to try to straighten it up because it's going all the way across the page. I'm not really sure at this point whether or not it's going to be covered. I have no idea. So I was trying to make it very straight. And then I'm going to pop this larger photo up onto some craft foam so that I can cluster underneath of it. Again, am I going to do that? Who knows? But it could happen, so let's just prepare for it. And if I don't cluster underneath of it, that's entirely okay too. I do like to have different levels of dimension on my pages. So this is up on some craft foam, and then I'm going to look around my desk, just to see if there's anything that kind of speaks to me. I know that the majority of the embellishments in this kit are very feminine as well. And I'm thinking, how am I going to tie those in? Am I going to have to reach into my stash for embellishments, or do I think I can pull this off? And I do end up pulling it off, but I also have to reach into my stash just a little bit. So now I'm going to pop up the smaller photo onto some craft foam because I'm going to lay it on top of the other photo. So I need it to be on the same level as the larger photo. And just going to quickly do that and center it on the page. Now I did want to have them at slightly different levels so that the smaller photo rests on the red line and the larger photo is resting on that navy stripe. And that way it just kind of created a bit of movement on the page. It's not a flat line all the way across, because that boundary, that little foundation I made, is a flat line all the way across, and I thought this would create some movement in the page. So now what I'm doing is I've grabbed this kind of color blocked paper and I'm cutting out some different colors to create some banners along the bottom. It kind of jumped into my head, this is a racing photo. He's not really going to be racing. It's going to be a ride along in this really cool NASCAR, but it's a racing theme. So what is more racing like than some banners, right? Than some, just kind of, I'm just thinking of the ones that are strung across the racetrack. So that's what I decided to do. And this also allows me to bring in that bright yellow. Now the background of this photo is kind of a darker yellow. It's more of a almost green in tone, really. And it didn't make you watch me cut all of those banners into shapes, but there they are. I also had a couple pieces of this yellow left after I cut off that little piece of those two banners. And I thought, let's tuck this in and pretend that it's a whole nother stripe underneath of the photo. Bring a little bit of attention back up to the top, bring that yellow around the page. And now I've just grabbed some ephemera pieces that are not so feminine. So we've got one little banner piece that says, "That was cool." We have another one that says "Smile," which he is obviously doing. And there's another little tag there that I cut the little taggy bit off the top and just turned it into a little banner. And I think that one says something like, "It was awesome," something like that. And all of those things are true. All of those things definitely describe how he was feeling that day. He was so excited. I think he would have rather driven the car, but it was better, I think, that he was riding along instead, because, if you're given the opportunity to drive a NASCAR, man, you could get into trouble there. But here I've picked Dream Big as my title, and these are just some thickers that were sitting in my stash, and I'm not exactly sure where they came from, but if I had to guess, my guess would be American Crafts Good Vibes collection, but I'm not 100% sure. They are black, but they have a nice white outline that helps them pop up off the photo there. And I grabbed the star off of that sheet as well, because I want that black to move around the page too. You don't want to have a color in one spot. You want to have it at least 2, preferably 3 points around your layout. That way it just feels like it belongs there. So I am backing this little star with some white paper because I was getting a lot of the background colors behind the star and I didn't like how that looked. It was blending in just a little bit too much into the background. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put that down. Now this little star is kind of, it's not a puffy sticker. It's kind of almost enamel is the way this alpha set is. So it was pretty easy to cut around it, is what I'm trying to say. If it had been foam, it would have been a lot harder. Did pop a little bit of adhesive foam underneath of it so that it's at the same height as that photo, since it's resting on top of that photo. At least at this point it is, but guess what? I moved it. Yeah, that's gonna happen once in a while. I don't always do that, but for this particular little piece here, this gets moved a couple of times, and I'm not entirely sure why I was so indecisive with it, but I think it's because it's black and there is so much navy on here, and I don't normally use both colors on a layout, but hey, we're gonna make it work. So I did have some of these really cool little cork pieces in my stash. I think they mostly came from Citrus Twist, a little grab bag they used to offer, which was called their Bits and Pieces, that had cork and wood veneer and some acrylic pieces in it, and that I absolutely love to get. I don't think they offer that at the moment on their new website, but I did grab those out of there just to ground it a little bit. I felt like it was very bright and it needed some more neutral color, and cork is brilliant for that. So I went ahead and put a little Be Brave next to the smile, because I don't know about my dad, but I would have to be extremely brave to sit in a NASCAR and ride around the track. The other one says, I can't believe this happened, which, I mean, really, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him, and would be, I think, for most people. And he absolutely, he loved it. He had such a blast with it. I don't think I mentioned, but this was a gift from my mom to him, and she knew that was something that he really, really wanted to do. And really, I think this is probably the best present he ever got. But this is a really fun masking layout that's almost done. I did a little bit of scattering with some puffy stars, and now I'm going to use a little bit of Heidi Swapp Color Shine in black to splatter. So I did my scattering, got my splattering, almost done. And I think the only thing that I have left is I added a little word sticker there on the smaller photo, because I felt like it was very unembellished and needed just a little bit of something to make it stand out just a little bit. So, more stars. More stars are needed, apparently. Oh, yes, on that little word sticker. And I will add my journaling off screen, but that's it, guys. Thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye.